It's like 1 in the morning, and why am I still awake instead of watching and talking about Psycho Goreman? Well, I guess it's probably because there's something deeply and strongly wrong with me, and I guess that's why I enjoyed this movie so much, because I really did. And we're gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna avoid spoilers, so don't fear if you haven't watched it yet. To start with, let's talk about Steve Kostanski, who wrote and directed this little gem, and if you've been with the channel for a while, you will know that I have a special appreciation for Astron 6, the team that Kostanski is a part of. The Six is a group of filmmakers from Canada who tend to specialize in films that are, for lack of a better description, love letters to specific genres. Father's Day is a pastiche of 70s grindhouse, while Manborg takes on 80s post-apocalyptic sci-fi. The Editor is a pitch-perfect recreation of Italian giallo, and The Void is the John Carpenter movie that John Carpenter never made. All of those are great fun and worth watching, and Kostanski also delved into the more mainstream world, if that's what you're calling the Leprechaun series, with Leprechaun Returns, and even if it feels less like his distinctive style than usual, the trademarks are still there. So then there's Psycho Goreman, which is obviously a send-up of 80s My Pet monster movies like Little Monsters and stuff like that, and I guess maybe E.T. if you want to stretch that analogy, and it pretty much nails the homage. So here's the thing, I did really enjoy this movie, but if I had to grade it with their earlier films, it's a little more flawed than the others, but I'll get to those flaws in a second, because first I'm gonna big up it for a bit, because the creature effects, which are for the most part practical, are a delight. They're sort of like a Power Ranger meets Gwar kind of thing, and the designs are really varied and really interesting. There's some very unique looking creatures here, and the great part is that there's more imagination in the side characters here than you'll find in most big budget main characters, and I'm looking at you, every single Blumhouse monster. Now, the designs could have probably dealt with a little more flattering lighting at times to improve their realism, but that's not too distracting. As far as the story goes, there's also a lot to love. The story is that a mega killer evil dude bad guy who is freed from his cosmic prison by two little kids that can control him with this magic gem, and they do buddy bonding stuff and name him Psycho Goreman and keep him from killing, well, everyone. There's tons of comedy involved, and for the most part, the jokes hit, although not all of the humor works, and there are definitely a few jokes that are just plain duds. But again, that's not too distracting. What is a little too distracting, though, is Mimi. She's sort of the main character, and I know what they were going for was a crazy kid who's basically a psychopath and out of control, sort of an unleashed id kind of a character. And look, I know she's supposed to be annoying, and that's the point, but, and I feel bad for saying this, because she's a little kid, but the actress does not pull off this role. And that's not a huge slam, because the role of a character who is this annoying and yet still has to be likable and sort of redeeming it's a really hard one to pull off, and I imagine that a lot of mainstream adult actors would all have difficulty landing this performance, so it's not that negative of a thing to say. I personally think that a role like this in the hands of probably 90% of kid actors it just isn't gonna work, and I'm sorry to say that this one isn't in that 10% that I was hoping for. Also distracting is the CG stuff. You see, when PG is relating the stories of his past exploits, it's all done in outer space blue screen composites that really stick out like a sore thumb. And having so much of the movie rely on these elaborate practical effects just makes these clearly digital mock-ups stand out even more. Thankfully, it's easy to compartmentalize that stuff, since it's pretty much all just the flashbacks that are like this, but it's still a little bit distracting. So, and the last thing is a nitpick and the tiniest possible spoiler, but it's a very, very minor one. But if you don't want to know it, just skip ahead. There's a point where PG mutates their friend Alistair into a brain thing. Now, Mimi has control of PG, and he has to do whatever she says, so I'm not sure why no one suggests that she make him change Alistair back. I mean, I get why Mimi doesn't do it herself because she's kind of an asshole, but I feel like Luke would have brought it up. Overall, these complaints aside, most of which are minor, although Mimi is in like 80% of the movie, this movie has one big thing going for it, and that is fun. This is consistently entertaining, it's frequently funny, it's occasionally shocking, and it's an overall success for me. And so there you have it. That's my thoughts. Overall, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 thumbs or stars, or maybe I'll rank it like the old Penthouse movie reviews and give it 4 dongs up. I don't know. It's late. Leave me alone. I'm going to bed.